usually having the breaking news like he usually does. He's joining us here
He's
this
the one
morning.
who originally pointed out the Board of Supervisors' role in all of this.
Good morning, Delly. How are you, man?
Morning. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Latest came out yesterday that Joe Oliva issued a statement that said they need that meeting from Will Wade. Will Wade's attorney came back and said, look, we want the meeting, but we can't talk about anything from the federal investigation. From your standpoint, from your point of view, where does this LSU basketball situation sit as they open up conference tournament play tomorrow?
Yeah, I was actually impressed yesterday. I think LSU's officials, Joe Oliva and Tom Skinner, the general counsel, meeting with the advocate and kind of telling their side of the story was a good move. And,
That's
and
fun. Ross, I was actually pretty impressed yesterday. So. Sorry to speak over you, bro. But.
Yeah, they needed to kind of speak out, and they painted a picture of a situation that is not going to be resolved unless their head coach comes in and talks to them, and I think they basically came out and said that. It sounds like Javonte Smart might return today or tomorrow, but as far as Will Wade, he's not returning unless he comes in and talks, which is kind of what we all expected, but they kind of laid it all out there and basically publicly put him on blast. Honestly, that's kind of what happened.
Javonte Smart and Will Wade, they're not aligned. It feels like when the story broke that they were kind of tied at the hip to one another, that if one was illegal, the other was illegal. If one was cleared, the other would be cleared. Not the case, it seems.
Yeah, I thought they were tied together in a kind of a different way than you're saying. I thought that Will would have had to talk to LSU in order for Javonte to be cleared, because usually in an investigation, especially in an NCAA investigation, all parties, you're going to have to talk to all parties, and Will is one of the parties involved in the Javonte situation. To clear a player, you got to talk to all parties, but maybe that's not necessarily the case, because the LSU let on yesterday that Javonte may be cleared pretty soon, and that's assuming Will doesn't change his mind and talk. So obviously, they have been okay with clearing Javonte after talking to Javonte, his mom, and the handler. I think that's kind of the big deal here. I know they mentioned that to the advocate and said that they were going to talk to the handler, that the handler or handlers had agreed to talk. So I guess that's good enough for them, and Will doesn't have to speak in order to clear Javonte, which is good, obviously, for Javonte.
Talking to Ross Dellenger of Sports Illustrated. I'll do the same thing I asked Billy before we maybe move on to another topic. Does Will Wade coach another game in LSU uniform?
No, I don't think so. It'd be tough for me to see that happening. This is put kind of a strained relationship, it seems, on LSU and Will Wade. I know the door is still open, as LSU said yesterday, but there's no doubt this is a strained relationship between the two sides, and it doesn't seem like, especially after hearing yesterday what Will Wade's lawyer told LSU, it doesn't seem like he's going to talk anytime soon. So when your employer and your employee are not talking for a long stretch of time, it's hard to believe that they're going to get back on the same page.
Ross, from your findings, from your research, is James Williams in the board of directors running LSU, or is F. King Alexander?
That's a tough question to answer. I think that when it depends on the circumstances and the kind of the controversy or the scandal, whatever you want to call it. It depends on that how who's involved. Mm-hmm. Joe Oliva makes a certain amount of decisions, and when it gets to a certain point, then I think the decisions become more of a by committee with F. King and certain board members. And I think this is a by committee decision. When it gets to this level of NCAA infractions potentially being involved, NCAA investigators being in town, those type of things get to a level where Joe Oliva is the only one, I think, making the decision. I think board members are very much involved, and James Williams, the chairman, and of course F. King. And I think when you get to that point, I think I was on with T-Bob earlier this week. We were talking about this. you remember when Ed Orgeron was hired, it's a good example of a head coach, hiring. Joe Oliva's not going to make that decision by himself. And you guys remember there was a 5-member committee. F. King, Joe Oliva, and 3 board members. I think these decisions like this are similar. I think there's a group of people making the decision.
So, but would you say, because it kind of sounds like you're working your way up the food chain, if you had to go with an ultimate veto power, like who's at the top of that pyramid, it sounds like it's the board.
I think on any year, depending on the chairman, and I remember talking to you about this earlier this week too, about depending on who the chairman is, and how influential they are.
Wow.
It can be argued that the chairman of the board is the most powerful person at LSU. It can be argued that it just depends on, I think, how influential they are in the community and the state and things like that. But if they have the votes, quote unquote, on the board, they're probably the most powerful person, because if they have the votes on the board, guess what? I mean, they control who's kind of hired and fired when it comes to the president and the AD. I mean, they do all that. They do all that. They make all those decisions. So it can certainly be argued on a given year that the chairman of the board is the most powerful person at LSU.
That's amazing. And if true, and Ross Dellenger is the best in the business of what he does in finding out facts. If that's true, that is LSU's problem right there. That's it. What other Fortune 500 company would be run by people that would be appointed to a board for political donations or political favors? I mean, that's what the board of directors is.
That's what's crazy. It's all come back and even cost John Bell Edwards in weird ways.
It could absolutely go to the governor's
just
seat.
in terms of fans being upset.
Ross, speaking about people in town right now, the NCAA's in town, the feds are in town, and
come on down.
Bad timing for this Our Lady of the Lake. Yeah, right. I mean, come on. We got parties there. We can feed you. We get everything down here this week. The Our Lady of the Lake investigation wrapped up earlier this week, and they're supposed to come out with their facts today. Should LSU basketball be the only program on campus that should be worried?
Well, I don't know a ton about that. I did find out last night that investigation did wrap up. But I haven't heard anything concrete on what's in the investigation, the results that are in. But anytime something like that's going on, that guy John Paul Funes, he was certainly deeply connected to LSU football. It seemed like he held events with the head coach a good bit to fundraise. And I'm certainly not linking or implicating LSU football in any of that embezzling that he did. But you just wonder, you wonder what's going to be in that, and what they found in that investigation. And I'll be curious to read the report whenever it's out, today, tomorrow, whenever.
Do you have any insight as to when that report will be out?
I do not. I think that I heard yesterday that there's potentially to be out today. But I don't know. I didn't get that from any kind of authority figure, so I'm not too comfortable, trusting that that's what will happen.
Yeah.
But I am kind of on the lookout.
Crazy times at LSU right now. Ross Dellenger from Sports Illustrated, who's covering it. He's over at si.com. You can hit him on Twitter as well at Ross Dellenger. You get any idea how they believe or they think their team is going to perform in talking to administrators or people around LSU? Are they even concerned about the way that the program performs on the floor right now?
Oh, I think they are. It was funny yesterday. One person did over at LSU did kind of mention that, did talk about that. This person said one of two things can happen, and this is something that I think a regular fan would say, and it's one of two things can happen. Either we rally, and all that stuff. We rally behind our team and our interim coach, or we just flop, and go out the first round. So they're certainly talking about it.
But why though, right? I mean, if you're already kind of admitting that you think you're getting in trouble, the season's a wash, it's whatever. I mean, does anything matter from this point? Which is why it's so weird to suspend him in the first place. You're already pot committed, okay? There's no difference just because you shut them down now. Ross, somebody on Twitter, Chris Landry, asking me, Have you talked to anybody in the administration? Like, have they kind of acknowledged the fact that out of, the 20 to 50 schools that are potentially linked to all this, that they are the only one to take this sort of action with their head coach? Like, have they acknowledged that at all, the administration? And like, why? Why do you think they took such proactive action?
Well, I've talked to enough administrators, and we've talked of why this happened. Now, you remember, I believe in, correct me if I'm wrong, because guys, y'all know I do 98% football, but I think Sean Miller from Arizona was suspended and then
for one game and then reinstated, and he coached this entire season.
So he was reinstated because he had a meeting with the.
Yeah, he met with the AD.
With the AD.
Yes.
I mean,
so that's the thing here, guys. Fans are upset and everything about the decision, and I get it. I get from their perspective, but you got to look at LSU's perspective. So the NCAA is in town, and the NCAA wants to see LSU follow some kind of protocol and have control over their institution. And this is part of showing control. Whether you agree or not, it is a part of showing control. Suspending your head coach when he will not talk to you about an investigation, when he will not comply with investigation. If you don't show control, guess what? You get hit with lack of institutional control, which is the worst thing. The NCAA doles out this most severe penalty. And at that point, everything on your campus is thoroughly investigated. And a lot of people probably don't want the NCAA to investigate every single program for like a half a year, So you have to show control. And that's what the thing is. That's what they're doing. That's why they did this.
But couldn't the admin meet with Wade if they would just move the meeting back down to just Oliva, King, and Wade in a room?
Yeah, I mean, that could – it sounds like from yesterday, from what I gathered, what they said to the advocate too, is that could potentially happen. But they, again, the NCAA is in town, and if the NCAA wants to sit in on the meeting, which it sounds like they want to sit in on the meeting, I don't know if they've actually, told LSU we want to definitely sit in on the meeting, but it sounds like they do, and LSU just, they don't want to meet with their coach without the NCAA, and the coach doesn't want to meet if the NCAA is there. So yeah, to your point, LSU could just say that, hey, we won't meet with the NCAA. Just come in and talk to us. But if the NCAA gets finds out about that and finds out what was said and they were kept out, I don't know. That's not a good.
But like when has working with the NCAA ever worked out for a school? Like ever?
Well, yeah. I mean, I get you. I get that point. But hiding things from them is certainly not going to work out for you. I think that's the fear here. And hey, I get it. I didn't necessarily make the decision, but that's their feeling. LSU's feeling is, hey, look, we're not going to look like we're hiding something from the NCAA, man. Like, you're going to have to come talk to us in the NCAA.
You travel around college campuses all over the country, specifically here in the Southeastern Conference. Is LSU's public relations department as bad as it seems here locally? I mean, is their PR department seems to get stomped on when they go through bad stories? They can't find their way out of it. Is this normal at college campuses around the country that you've seen, or is LSU this bad at it?
Well, what they did yesterday is a step in the right direction. But, to answer your question right off, no, I don't think they all struggle in this manner. I think some of them do. Believe me, LSU's not the only one that struggles and gets beat up when stories like this emerge. But I thought that was a step in the right direction yesterday in speaking out, and them in speaking out. And what's behind a lot of this, guys, is the athletic director. Everybody is not a public relations whiz. Everybody's not great in front of the camera or on the radio or on TV or whatever. He's not great at that. That's not his strength. And LSU people have told me that before. Look, that's not Joe's strength. We know it. In the spotlight, in front of the camera is not Joe's strength. So that's part of this whole deal.
Fair question. Ross, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Go
what do
ahead.
people
guys.
say? What is his strength?
Yeah, well, to answer it real quick because I know you're running out of time. I think people would tell you, well, he's kept us out of NCAA trouble and we make a lot of money.
Yeah, actually, that's actually fair.
Thank you, Ross. Good stuff this morning, man.